Many of us are very stressed about it. Well, joining me now is clinical child psychologist Dr. Janine Hubbard. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.
So why are elections so divisive and polarizing?
Oh, there's a couple of things that unfortunately tend to divide people and it makes it really challenging to come back after an election because of the division. There's one of two things. There are some people who form kind of an identity or an affiliation with a particular political party, and they always vote for that same party. And that's part of their identity, whether it matches their values, their family history, and then they engage in something that we call confirmation bias, which means they tend to hang out with people who have similar values and thoughts and political beliefs. They tend to follow on social media people with similar thoughts. So it reinforces the my viewpoint is right perspective. On the flip side, we have people who change their mind. One year they might vote for one party, another year they might vote for another. But what kicks in there is a really cool psychological process called cognitive dissonance. So what happens if you were relatively on the fence between two decisions? Once you've made your decision, you are so much more in favor of that choice that, again, it becomes polarizing and you can't understand why would someone have ever picked that other choice, even though at one point you were deciding equally between them.
Now, you know, we knew going into this election that the final results were going to take days, maybe even longer. And now with such a very, very close race, how is this uncertainty impacting stress?
Oh, there's no question. I mean, tensions were heightened, stress was heightened going into this. And on one hand, there's a lot of people saying, I may not be happy with the result, but I just need to know what's going to happen next so I can start making choices for my own life. We all have different degrees of how much intolerance and uncertainty we can handle. And for people with poor tolerance for it, this is really agonizing. So best thing you can try to do right now is keep in mind what are the things I have control over in my life and what are the things that, as much as I wish I could, I have no control over. So spending time and energy and stress on them is not going to change anything, and it's only going to make me feel worse.
What is the best tip? You know, turn on all the news channels, watch everything that's happening, read everything on Twitter.
Self-care. Stay off of social media as much as possible, partly because you're going to get your biases that we talked about earlier, but also just because information comes out sporadically and unexpectedly and sucks you in. Pick a couple of times a day that you check in with a reputable news source and limit your exposure the rest of the time. Engage in self-care. Remember, yes, this feels huge. Yes, it feels life-altering. But the reality is, for most of us here in Newfoundland and Labrador, on a daily basis, making sure the kids are fed, making sure the laundry's done, making sure we've gone out and gotten some exercise and walked the dog is really going to have far more of an impact on our daily life right now. So put it in perspective.
All right. Dr. Janine Hubbard, thank you so much for coming in.
Anytime.
And this is